Welcome to our show. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic that's sure to chill you to the bone. We're talking about the Book of Ice. Now, I've heard about books made of paper, but ice? That's new to me. Can you tell us more about this icy tome?
Absolutely. I'm excited to share this cool topic with you. The Book of Ice isn't a literal book, but rather a metaphor for the historical record preserved in polar ice sheets. It's similar to the Book of Wood, which records history through tree rings, but on a much grander scale.
Wow, that's intriguing. So, where exactly can we find this Book of Ice? I'm guessing it's not at my local library, right?
You're right about that. The Book of Ice is found in Earth's polar regions, the extreme north and south of our planet. These are the chilly homes of polar bears in the Arctic and penguins in the Antarctic. In these areas, it's so cold year-round that the ice never melts, even during the warmest summer days.
Brr, I'm getting cold just thinking about it. So, how does this ice actually form? It can't just appear out of nowhere, can it?
You're absolutely right. The ice doesn't just magically appear. It's a gradual process that's been happening for countless years. Initially, these polar regions were ice-free, but due to the extremely cold climate, water from the oceans and moisture in the air began to freeze. It's similar to how snow accumulates in winter, but on a much larger scale.
That's fascinating. So, it's like a giant natural ice maker. But how does this ice become a book that records history?
Great question. As the ice forms and expands, it traps various elements from its surroundings. Wind carries tiny particles from distant places, and cold waters bring materials from far away. All these substances get frozen within the ice. Then, new layers of ice form on top, trapping fresh materials. It's like nature is writing new pages in this icy book every year.
That's incredible. So, if we were to dig into this ice, what would we see?
If you were to dig into the polar ice, you'd see something similar to tree rings, layers upon layers of ice. The deeper you go, the older the preserved materials become. The upper layers contain more recent deposits. Each layer represents a specific time period, and the substances frozen within form the book's contents.
Amazing. It's like a time capsule made of ice. But how do scientists actually study this Book of Ice? They can't just chip away at it with an ice pick, can they?
No, definitely not with an ice pick. Scientists use a much more sophisticated method. They drill into the polar ice sheets using hollow drill bits. As the drill goes deeper, it collects ice samples within its hollow core. These cylindrical ice samples are called ice cores, and they're carefully extracted and analyzed.
Ice cores, got it. And what can scientists learn from these ice cores?
Oh, the ice cores reveal a wealth of information. When you look closely at an ice core, you can see numerous tiny bubbles. These aren't just ordinary bubbles, they're actually ancient air pockets, preserving gases from thousands or even tens of thousands of years ago.
Ancient air? That's mind-blowing. What kind of information can scientists get from these trapped bubbles?
It's truly amazing what they can learn. By analyzing these trapped substances, scientists can uncover information about past climate changes, volcanic eruptions, biological activity, and even cosmic events like supernova explosions. It's like having a window into Earth's past.
That's incredible. But wait, doesn't drilling into the ice harm the environment or the habitats of animals like penguins and polar bears?
That's a great concern to raise. Scientists are very aware of this issue. To minimize environmental impact and preserve these valuable ice cores, they store them in massive freezers after collection. This allows researchers to access and study the cores without repeatedly drilling new holes, helping to protect the habitats of polar animals.
That's good to hear. Can you tell us more about where these ice cores are stored?
Certainly. One example is the United States' first ice core research laboratory. It's essentially a library for the Book of Ice and probably the coldest library in the world. Each metal container in this lab houses a section of an ice core. If we think of each ice core as a book, you can imagine how valuable this library is for scientists studying Earth's history.
A frozen library. Now that's cool. Speaking of history, how far back in time can these ice cores take us?
The depth of polar ice sheets limits how far back we can go, but it's still incredibly far. The deepest ice cores collected so far reach over 3,000 meters down, containing records from as far back as 800,000 years ago. That's vastly greater than what the Book of Wood can offer us.
800,000 years? That's mind-boggling. But I'm curious, is that as far back as we can go to learn about Earth's history?
Well, while 800,000 years is an incredibly long time, it still falls short of revealing Earth's full age. To uncover the complete story of Earth's age, we need to turn to yet another book of nature, the Book of Rock. But that's a whole other fascinating story.
The Book of Rock? Now you've got me intrigued. It seems like nature has quite the library. Thank you so much for sharing this chilling tale of the Book of Ice with us today. It's truly amazing what we can learn from the frozen world around us.
It's been my pleasure. Nature indeed has many stories to tell, and the Book of Ice is just one of them. It's a reminder of how much we can learn about our planet's past by looking closely at the world around us. And who knows? Maybe the next time you see an icicle, you'll think about the incredible history frozen within.
I certainly will, and I'm sure our listeners will too. Thanks again for this fascinating discussion. Stay cool, everyone.